Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. I'm seeing green on my end, and let me make sure I'm seeing green here before I start. And we are seeing so green, and I have sound great. The world is good. This has been a very long day. Bizarre and long. I'm going to call this a 420. It's earned and necessary. Well, it's necessary is too strong, but it helps. It's on my mind, so I need to clear the channel. I go to my mom's house today. I'm going to play chess originally, but I'm stopping by my mom's because she hasn't seen my new car. It's a Mini. She goes, checks it out. She says, "Oh, boo, this is nice. This is a really nice car. I mean, wow, this is great. BMW does a really fucking awesome job when it does cars, like particularly when they do like these Minis." She opens the passenger side, closes the passenger side, and it goes running down the hill. It was in park. The brake was up. Her house is like has this incline with a bunch of rocks and everything else. I bust my ass, I swear, every time I go down to that particular part, because as you're walking down the hill of rocks, the rocks tend to slide. The Mini, either it doesn't have sufficient weight or whatever, but the thing goes barreling down, hits her car, careens from her car, and goes into over the neighbor's fence, and gets stuck on the neighbor's wire fence. Initially, there's this thing of, let me grab it. Maybe if I grab it. And then you have that other second thought of, maybe if I jump in it. And then reality sets in, and you accept it all at once. You just accept it, and you just look. You look because you're seeing something fucking amazing, fucking terrible. But you just look. You have no other power other than to look. Ugh. I sat there for hours, waiting for the tow truck. Waiting for Geico to tell me that, yes, I've been paying 3 months of coverage for no reason because they haven't had the switch over between those two cars. And so I'm sorry, Mr. Thomas, there's nothing we can do about picking it up. So that was that. That was that. All things being equal, I guess it doesn't matter. It matters. It's annoying. That's a beautiful fucking car to end up sitting on somebody's fence, but still. There's this yogi, the guy's name is Sadhguru, and he has this thing of saying, like, well, there are really horrible things in the world, and getting yourself out of place for those horrible things in no way changes those horrible things. So yes, this sucks, but getting myself out of sorts because of it in no way changes the fact that my car is sitting on a fence. Oh, thank you, Redneck Economics. I love you. It's like, keep on keeping on. Yeah, that shit sucked. That shit sucked. I gotta be honest, this sucked. Alright, so let me get back to what I want to talk about. While I wait, I'm looking at my phone and I'm looking at Twitter. And what do I see? George Bush, Clinton, and Obama hamming it up at a golf event. So, wow, look at these guys. They're hamming it up. It's not like one of them invaded a country and murdered 1 million people. It's not like that at all. That's not what took place. Oh, wait a minute. That is what took place. That is what took place. Weapons of mass destruction. They invaded a country. It conjured up an idea of weapons of mass destruction. Sent Colin Powell down to the UN to be the fall guy, to essentially lie to the rest of the UN about the weapons of mass destruction that didn't exist. He invaded a country, killed 1 million people. The other president comes into office after that president has killed 1 million people and tortured to try to create a link that didn't exist between 9/11 and Saddam Hussein. He's finger painting now. That's what he does in his off time. He finger paints. At which point does George Bush get rehabilitated? This was not the topic, but this is the topic right now. At which point does George Bush get rehabilitated? When you kill 1 million people and the next president comes into office and say he's looking forward instead of looking back. Wait a minute, but the guy you're saying you're looking forward and not looking back on just murdered 1 million people. Are there consequences for things or not? If I get caught with a dime bag of pot, that cop is taking me to jail. That cop can be an alcoholic himself. He can be boozed up every night. But he's taking me to jail if I have a plant in my pocket. You're hamming it up at a golf course with the murderer of 1 million people. I find this to be amazing. I just don't quite understand at which point how these people can be rehabilitated in this way after their actions. Is it because that American president in no way can do anything wrong? Meaning whatever failings that take place in that office, for the most part, they're kept in house. There's no legal apparatus to deal with the failings of a United States president, particularly when that president is doing something illegal. Is he a king? Is the president of the United States a king? Look, if you just come clean with us and say, yes, the office of the president is now inhabited by a king, our laws don't apply to the king of America, then okay, fair enough. We can deal with that, but that's not the reality that we deal with. You continuously call this man a president. You continuously say he's held in check by laws and rules. And Obama at every moment kept telling us these laws and rules when it was time to get stuff done. Murdering people, however, oh, he's a king. He can do whatever he wants. So the rule is you can murder whoever you want abroad as long as you're president of the United States and there's no consequences for those actions. That next president who says he's looking forward continue to use the apparatus that the last president built. These things of drones, using flying killer robots to fly over areas and murder people in multiple countries, invading one country after the next, after the next, after the next, after the next, after the next. No consequence. It's okay. He sings. He croons. He looks presidential when he's out there. It's okay. He's Obama. He's Obama. It's not okay. I'm saying it's not okay. I don't care what this apparatus, I don't care what the authorities say, I don't care what media says on this point. A human being is making the choice to murder other human beings. That's not okay. That's not okay. Hamming it up with George Bush as if everything is okay. This is just a regular guy, and yes, we're hamming it up and we're playing golf. That guy murdered 1 million people and you let him off the hook. The next maniac is coming to that office, and that maniac is he understands there are no restraints on the presidency. Thanks to the last 2 presidents. Thanks to the last 2 presidents. You can also understand that it kind of sticks in my craw a little bit when I see stories where Obama was put to the question of Kaepernick. Hey, previous president that occupied that office. Previous president. Previous black president. Mr. Black President. There's a black man out there who's taking a knee in football. How do you feel about him doing that? I'm saying it this way because, let's be honest, that's the way this question is being put to him. Who do your allegiances lie? Who do your allegiances lie? This is the hill. Obama. Kaepernick should think about the pain he could cause with protests. Now, to be fair, Obama's point was more nuanced than this. His point being nuanced, however, doesn't make it better to me. I find it to be wholly unacceptable. The President of the United States on Wednesday said he hopes that athletes taking a knee during the national anthem and those who criticize the protests listen to each other. I think both of these sides should listen to each other. How do you feel about Kaepernick taking a knee? I think both sides should listen to each other. That's what I think. We saw you hamming it up with George Bush. Is it okay that he invaded a country and killed 1 million people? They didn't ask him that. I wish they would have asked him that. They didn't ask him that. In fact, I wish they would have asked these 2 questions in tandem. You're saying that taking a knee, they should listen to each other. Let me keep reading it first. When asked about his thoughts on the issue during the CNN town hall, Obama said that honoring the flag binds Americans together. Well, as I've said before, I believe that us honoring our flag and our anthem is part of what binds us together as a nation. And I think that for me, for my family, for those who work in the White House, we recognize what it means to us, but also what it means to men and women who are fighting on our behalf, he added. He then added that protesting the flag is a right. It represents the democratic process. But I'm also always trying to remind folks that part of what makes the country special is that we respect people's rights to have a different opinion and to different decisions about how they want to express their concerns. Speaking to an audience of military personnel and their family members, Obama encouraged the athletes, such as Kaepernick, to listen to the pain that their protests may be causing the men and women in uniform. So I want Mr. Kaepernick and others who are on a knee, I want them to listen to the pain that they may cause somebody who, for example, had a spouse or a child who was killed in combat, and why it hurts to see somebody not standing, he said. But I also want them to think about the pain he may be expressing. I also want them to think about the pain that he may be expressing about somebody who's lost a loved one and may be unfairly shot. Obama concluded by saying that every protest should recognize that they are expressing their view under a blanket of protection of our men and women in uniform. Classic Obama. How do you feel about them protesting? Well, I think they should listen to each other. That's what I think. And I'm going to drape myself in the flag. And I'm going to say that, hey, it could be causing those people pain when you're taking that knee. It could cause people pain. This is a non-answer. Now, there is an answer there, but this is somewhat of a non-answer. It's a non-response. I don't want a non-response. I want an actual human response. What position do you take? Now, draping yourself in the flag in such a way is taking a position. So, I will be the monster. I will be the monster. I will be the goblin in this sense. I will be the bad guy, and I'll rip the flag away. The position that Obama is taking here is, hey, some of these troops, they've been killed and injured in the line of duty. And when you take a knee on the flag, it hurts their feelings. Two things. The first thing that hurts my feelings is, A, you're using the flag in a defense of this. This was a straightforward question. How do you feel about Kaepernick taking a knee? Now, you could say, yes, I'm draping myself in the flag. If you're going to do that, let's be honest about what these guys have been doing. Let's be honest. You've been sending military abroad with flying killer robots to murder civilians. The people who you're talking about who's been injured and hurt and maimed, those people were sent into other countries to murder other people. Those people got shot, injured in the line of duty. My heart goes out to them. They were bought a bill of goods. Somebody, whatever the country told them, they whispered things to them that they felt that they need to leverage their courage to go into another country to murder somebody else. And we told them that it was okay for them to go into another country and murder somebody else. That's not right. I don't care what your government has told you. That is not right. It is not good to murder in the United States. It's not good to murder when somebody sends you abroad to do the murdering. So yes, let's be honest. The conversation that we're having about these guys protecting us is insane. There's nobody at our gates. We're sending these guys over there. Yes, we're leveraging their courage. I get it. They're brave and courageous. But what is that bravery and courage being used for? We've engaged in one war of aggression, one militaristic activity after the next. Let's be honest. There's nobody at our gates. There's nobody at our gates. So yes, if you want to use it that these guys are bleeding on the flag, okay, these guys are bleeding on the flag. What does that have to do with Kaepernick? Taking a knee saying, stop killing us. Those things are different. If you're going to drape yourself in the flag, A, you need to figure out, what does that mean? What am I draping myself in? It's one thing if somebody was attacking us. It's one thing if we had a call of arms and you had all of these people who went out and did something in order to keep these guys off our gates. We're not Britain in World War II. That's not us. That's not us. That's not what's taking place. This is wholesale murder. The majority of the people that we hit in these bomb strikes, we have no idea who we're hitting. Let's stop acting like these guys are some kind of, that this is this kind of patriotic thing. It's real. It's not. You've been sold a bill of goods. Your country has convinced you of something that's not true. So yes, That's not a defense to me. This idea of, hey, you can't say this because, it's hurting people's feelings. I'm sorry, that's not a defense. I'm sorry your loved one was hurt. I'm sorry your loved one was injured. Your loved one believed something. He believed that they were going over there to fight in the honor of a country. I'm sorry, that was a government that did that. That wasn't fighting on behalf of the country. That was your government. It's a difference in those things. As for the Kaepernick, I want an honest response. I want to know what you actually feel. If you're okay with hamming it up with George Bush, after George Bush killed 1 million people, and this is not in doubt, this is not a situation where people, it's 50, 60, 70 years ago. This is recent. He was your predecessor as a president. Not to mention the blood and treasure that was lost in that Iraq war. How many people died in that Iraq war that were Americans? What, 3,000, 4,000 Americans? Not to mention, what, $4 or $5 trillion? George Bush is okay. It's okay to ham it up with George Bush after George Bush got all those Americans killed in a war that shouldn't have ever taken place. That's okay. That's okay. That doesn't cause harm to the men and women. That doesn't do it. George Bush got all those people murdered. Not to mention torturing a bunch of other Iraqis to try to get them to say that there was a link between those things. It is okay to ham it up with George Bush, but calling Kaepernick in a silent protest of stop killing us, he hurts people's feelings. He hurts people's feelings. It's not about hurting people's feelings. All right, let's see commentary. David McCall. More Jamal meaning abuse. Killing is a murder. Killing is murder if you know that that's exactly what you're doing. There's a reason Jamal cannot use the applicable word. Deception is built on word meaning. Yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. Killing is murder. If you have a clear intention that what you're going to do is going to end up with that person being killed, it's murder. You can use whatever legal, any kind of turnaround that you want. Ultimately, if I am taking an action and I full well know that action is going to end up with somebody else's death, that's murder. That's murder. Call it what it is. You're acting like the word is like, oh my God, we can't say murder. We have to say kill. You act like that makes it better. You act like that makes it better. It doesn't. Gotta go. Peace. Every soldier is a murderer under Jamal's deceitful use of the word. Yes, every soldier is a murderer. Yes. Yes. The United States engages in wars of aggression constantly. Yes, that's what happens. If you're sending a United States soldier over into another country to kill somebody else, that's murder. That's literally what they're doing. You want to pretend just because the United States is doing it that it gives them some kind of, I'm giving you a free pass. There are no free passes. Murder is murder. Call it what it is. Marcella Stevenson. Obama, you hurt my feelings when you didn't keep your campaign promise of single payer. Yeah. Yes, it is. Yes, he did. Alexis Anderson. Absolutely murder. Yeah, it is. It is. Use the correct legal term. That's like saying, hey, it's not torture. It's advanced interrogation. You're not using the right term, man. You're using advanced interrogation instead of torture. Bush called it advanced interrogation. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. That's insane. That's insane. This country was founded on genocide and a lie, and it's cover up and it's never stopped. Yes, yeah. Yeah, one of those cover-ups is pretending that, hey, when you're doing something abroad that you know is going to get somebody killed, that it's not getting anybody killed. That it's okay when people kill other people abroad. At that point, you're a hero and you're a patriot. Whatever. I'm calling it what it is. It is impossible for the left to deal with this argument of militarism without calling it what it is. Without calling it what it is. Stop pretending that what these guys do over there is somehow heroic. It is not. It's one thing if we're being attacked and, there's this call to arms and people come back to rebuff this thing. But this is not Britain in World War II. You're talking about America being the superpower going around abusing other countries, particularly countries where it thinks it can get away with. Bare bones truth of it. America wars won't do much if no one shows up to kill people, and yes, true. You can't kill anybody if nobody shows up to do the actual killing. The only time war is ever justified is when a nation attacks us on our own soil. Agreed. Agreed. So, agreed to a caveat. I don't think I'm a dove, man. Like, and maybe it's compared to some of these neocons, yeah, I am a dove. But a lot of this pulls down the chest to me, if I'm being honest. It doesn't help us. Like, if you're doing this thing where you're spending $1 trillion on the military every year, that's insanity. You're spending 8 times more than any other nation around the globe. Why are you spending 8 times more than any other nation on the globe just to keep some level of supremacy? And in doing so, you're attacking one country after the next that's creating a hotbed for terrorists. That's not a positive thing. That's not something that's actually helping you out. You have people who hate your guts. And it's not hating your guts for no reason. It's hating your guts for good reason. If 90% of the people you're killing in those strikes were civilians, hell, let's say 50%. That's a massive number of people that you're murdering. Mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers. Those are people that are being killed by your sons, by your daughters, with your tax dollars. We don't have high-speed rail. You don't have health care. You don't have free education. Those Western countries have those things. So you have to ask yourself the question, do I want to continuously spend money on the military murdering people abroad? Is that a good use of my money? Is that a good use of the way we spend the cash in this particular country? I think that's a fair damn question. I think that's an immensely fair question. Lucien Renee Nathan, I'm game. Let's call abortion murder too. Okay, if that's what you need to do, if you need to equate a human being, a person, a live human being, a person that's being murdered abroad by a flying killer robot with a zygote. Do you, dude? Do you on that one, man? 100% of American soldiers in Iraq after 9/11 were murders. Wrong nation. 0 people in Iraq had anything to do with 9/11. You know what? I'm always blown away by this. So, we invade a country that didn't do squat to us. In invading that country, we kill 1 million people. Think about that. 1 million people wiped off the face of the earth based upon something that we did. A war of aggression. Did they believe we were going to kill people when we went over there? When we dropped bombs, did we think those bombs were going to actually hit people? If we knew that when we dropped bombs and those bombs were going to explode and those explosions were going to maim, murder, and tear people apart, can we not call that murder? It's wanton murder. That's all it is. That's all it is. You can coax it any way you want. Ultimately, at the end of the day, America invaded a country, killed 1 million people, destabilized an entire region. Those people went streaming into one country after the next. We followed that up with bombings on multiple countries. I think we ended up in 8 countries over in that region. Special forces in 70% of the countries around the globe. And in doing this, destroyed Libya, destroyed Iraq, bombing the shit out of Afghanistan, Somalia, one country after the next. At no point does America take responsibility for the fact that it invaded and destroyed a wrong country. At one point, it was, they need to get their act together. The country that we just invaded and killed all those people in. This is amazing to me. This is amazing. There's a level of dishonesty associated with the way we look at our history and even recent history that I find fascinating. Obama can ham it up with George Bush. Think about that. There is no dispute about George Bush invading that country. There's no dispute about Saddam Hussein not having weapons of mass destruction. Zero dispute. And yet, there is this kind of thing of, well, he was a president. He wore suits. He was a goofball. He was a fuck up. He should be in prison. At the least, he should be in prison. The other European nations around the globe will see this. If this was any other country, if this was some kind of African dictator, they would have dragged his ass out of that country and dragged him to The Hague. Goofball George Bush gets to ham it up with the other presidents to try to be rehabilitated. It's awesome. It's awesome. He said we would form a committee to investigate the Iraq war. He was full of shit. He also had never dated black women. I think he picked Michelle for convenience. Okay, I'm not going after the man and his wife. He may perfectly love Michelle Obama. The problems of the war on terror is that no single country ever attacked the United States on 9/11. We should not be in the Middle East. Yeah, it's a robber breaks into someone's house. And breaking into someone's house, he ends up killing several people in that house. The United States finds where that robber lives and drops bombs on Texas. It just seems weird to me. You had a single person or a single entity do something, and the response to this is destroy the entire country. That's fucking amazing. I find it to be just fucking amazing. At which point does the response, we must destroy X, when there's a single entity that did X? Osama bin Laden was not a country. That's all, kind of the point I want to make. Osama bin Laden was not a country. Osama bin Laden was a single person that might have worked with certain cliques that attacked the United States. Attacking Afghanistan with the United States military on a single person is insane. Expanding that attack to Iraq was even more insane. You completely destabilized the region of the world. That's what you did. That's what the United States did. We're still in those wars today because of George Bush. Certainly Obama knows this. Certainly the media knows this. All of these people know this. And yet they give the president a blank pass. I find this to be amazing. What does a president have to do to be court-martialed or impeached? What does a United States president have to do to be put in prison? It's like Michael Tyson biting off Evander Holyfield's ear. And they just was like, all right, well, he just bit the guy's ear off. What's the maximum penalty for doing that? I'm trying to make the point that it's so over the top for a United States president to decide to go into another country that had nothing to do with attacking guns and murdering 1 million people. I can't get over that part. 1 million people wipe off the globe. We're acting as if these people aren't real people, if that makes sense. These are not these little digital bits. These are not this conceptual model in your head. Get rid of this idea that these numbers, it's hard to sometimes put these numbers in scale. Yes, they kill 1 or 2 people. Oh, they kill 1 or 2 people. I understand that. When you start thinking 1 million, 2 million, those numbers blur. It's hard to quantify from a human being standpoint what it looks like to murder 1 million people. That is hard to put into context. But that is the context that you need to deal with. He's finger painting. Goddamn mass murder. Bin Laden had nothing to do with it either. Look, I'm not necessarily on the bandwagon of believing that this was a false flag. I'm into. I don't think people are crazy for saying, okay, there's something screwy with this. Fair enough. I agree with that part. Do I necessarily think that that goofball has something to do with it? I'm not there yet. Alexis Anderson, a question I have is, how does a country that is a majority of people identifying themselves as Christian accept the continuing wars and murdering of people around the world? Well, that is a fucking interesting question, isn't it? That is an immensely interesting question. How does people who consider themselves Christians, how are they okay with this? How does a Christian nation rectify this idea that your country is murdering people abroad? How? I've made the point before, there's no such thing as a Christian conservative. They don't exist. They don't exist. It's an oxymoron to even say. So if those are the people who consider themselves a Christian nation, then yeah, there you go. That's just what they call themselves. It's not necessarily what they actually live. There's a difference in those things. Currently, a court case filed against the Saudi government that Obama opposed to beat Enriquez. Yes, that's true. So there's a court case that was filed against the Saudi government about the 9/11 thing. Obama was against it because Obama understood that if the United States, if any element of the United States brings a court case against the Saudi government with this idea of 9/11, what stops those countries from bringing lawsuits against the United States? We've been bombing how many countries? What, 8 Muslim countries? How many people have we murdered in our bombings? Thousands. What if those thousands of people cobble together whatever means necessary in each of those countries to take the United States to court? Obama was trying to cover his ass. That's the only reason. Donna Gaffney. The business model of the country is war itself. That's the bread and butter. Everything else is window dressing. We spend $1 trillion on military a year. Pentagon just lost $5.7 trillion in 2015 alone. Where's that money coming from? You don't care about where that money is coming from? Even if you don't care about the people you're murdering abroad, shouldn't you at the very least care about where that money is coming from? Why is that money spent on you? Why is it that every time somebody brings up this idea of, hey, what about dealing with the issues that are in this country? What about making sure that people have health care? What about making sure people can go to college? Off the table. But we do have $5.7 trillion to fuck around with if you're the military. That is a mind-blowing number. $5.7 trillion. The budget they're talking about for Donald Trump is what? $1 trillion. Give or take a few $100 billion. These are mind-blowing numbers. Your country is $21 trillion in debt. Think about that. $21 trillion in debt. What do you get for that cash? What have you gotten for that cash? Dead Iraqis, a more destabilized world, a more destabilized planet, a planet that for the most part is on fire, extinctions, plastic in our oceans. What have you gotten for that cash? What have you gotten for that cash? That's how I felt about voting for Hillary and not voting. $700 billion is what our priority. Yeah, man. I'm not going to... Well, it's 30 minutes. I'm not going to belabor the point. I think the point... I've made my point on this. It's a little weird. Not weird. I wish he took a position. That's all. I wish he took a position. As a president, you're going to be attacked on whatever position you take. So, fair enough. You're free. Take a position. That's all. This is a non-position. And it's a non-position from the standpoint of, well, I mean, it hurts the soldiers' feelings. Or their spouses. Or their families. I get that. I get that. Everybody needs to hear everybody else. I get that. What our military doing is not defense. That's the point. That's the first point. The second point is, you thought it was perfectly okay to hang out with George Bush, who ended up getting, what, 4,000 Americans murdered, not to mention spending $4 trillion. But Kaepernick taking a knee, oh, that's too breathtaking to comment on in an earnest way. Okay. Alright, guys, I'm going to end it. Yes, Obama is a Republican. I think he knows it. Yeah, I mean, look, if Obama was running during the Jimmy Carter era, he would be a Republican. Yes, that's true. But I think everybody knew that at this point. Regardless of what you're saying, Democratic Party, put it this way, Ronald Reagan, right now, would be a Democrat. Ronald Reagan would be a Democrat. The model of Clinton, Obama, and Hillary Clinton, for the most part, is Ronald Reagan. They say, you know, you can say whatever you want about Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan did turn the country in a way, if that makes sense. At the very least, the Democratic Party changed to be more like him. So. John Wolf, Obama should have thought about the pain he would have caused with the drone strikes and 5 more wars. Yeah. Other people's pain don't matter, man. Like, murdering other people around the globe, that don't matter. That don't matter. Colin Kaepernick taking a knee. Oh. That hurts people. It hurts people. Okay. Ronald Reagan would be a Democrat. I'm sorry, he would. Ronald Reagan would not be able to run in a Republican field. He would have to run it as a Democrat. Jimmy Dore is a coward who spits and runs. A coward, that is all. Okay. I don't know what Jimmy Dore has to do with this. The press should have been covering Obama half as much as they've been covering Trump. They don't like Trump. Like, you must understand, there's a mask that they expect. Trump doesn't wear the mask. Trump's fucking goblin. Now, whatever you want to say about Trump, at the very least, Trump is Trump. If that makes sense. It's not the situation of, here's my mask, and yes, I'm going out and murdering a bunch of people with drones. It's, this is not a mask. I'm a horrible goblin. I actually respect that from him, if that makes sense. He lies through his teeth, but he lies so poorly that you can't get away with it. When Obama came out after they locked up Louis Gates, and I said to myself, Obama came out and said that cop acted stupidly because they locked the guy up at his front door. And I said, yeah, that asshole did act stupidly. He shouldn't have locked the guy up at his front door. That's insane. Then Obama comes out after somebody yelled at him. Cowed. President of the United States. Cowed. Oh, I'm going to have a beer or something. I have to have a beer or something. The first response was the correct response. That cop acted stupidly. He locked the guy up at his front door. Now, say what you want about Donald Trump. Donald Trump would have went out there and said that cop was a fucking asshole. He acted stupidly. The press would have howled. The press would have bitched. Donald Trump wouldn't have said squat else. He would have stood his ground. He's a clown. He can be a buffoon. But of the traits, that's what I like about him. That's what I like about him. I don't like a president of the United States being cowed in this way. Particularly not the first black president of the United States. If he thought that cop acted stupidly, he should have said that cop acted stupidly and let that be the end of it. In this particular case, you have a black man who's taking a knee, taking a position of, hey, stop shooting us. The wild part about this is, it's a statement. It's no different than the sit-in in the 60s. It's a statement. Now, some people don't necessarily like that statement. Some people are jarred out of their complacency by the statement. That's perfectly fine. That's the point. That's the point. Now, I get Obama comes out and says, yes, it's nice for everybody to have their free speech, etc., but ultimately what he gave was a non-statement. A statement didn't mean anything. People should listen to each other, okay? But what we're asking is, what's your position? What do you think about it? None of this shit about, well, both sides should listen. No, I don't want to hear that. What's the honest position? What's the honest position? What do you actually believe? What do you actually believe? Just fucking annoying. Yes, I know. Nebula, fucking more whites are shot by cops today than blacks. Yes, I know. There are more cops. There are more whites than blacks in this country. We only make up 13% of the country. When you look at the percentages, we're shot more. From the standpoint of percentage, we're shot more. Whites think they're safe from cops. They're not. If you look talking about numbers, just flat fact numbers. But if you're talking about percentages, Nebula Lupa, I love you, motherfucker. Okay. Thanks. Media is a mouthpiece for the state, paid for by the corporations. Classic fascism. What it was, what's the guy's name? What's his name? I was watching a thing the other day. Mussolini. The corporation between state, or the coordination between state and finance, or state and the economy. This merger between the two, between state and corporations, equaling fascism. If that's Mussolini's definition, we've been there for the past 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Now, honestly, if that's his definition, there's always been a merger between state and corporations, at least going back for 50 years or so. Once they started digging their hands in the political apparatus, yeah. Media is a corporation. Yes, it is. Cheryl Vick. Hey, Jamal, have you ever listened to Yvette Cornell from Breaking Brown? She's really good about black politics. You should interview her. I'd check her out. What's her name? Yvette. Poor Donna said, Obama was bald when he landed in the Oval Office. We just didn't know it. Glenn Ford of Black Agenda Report. Donna Gaffney. I've interviewed Glenn Ford. It was my first interview. And my camera fucked up. It screwed up. I did not have it in me to ask Glenn Ford for another interview after my camera screwed up. So, I've talked to him. He acted like he didn't, well, maybe he didn't know who it was. Which made it worse. That makes it worse. That makes it so worse. David McCall, you're a murderer if you voted for Obama. Yes, to some degree, we're complicit. To some degree, we're complicit. I don't have this full thought of it being them and not us. I full well understand that our behavior, the patterns that we took on in our lives, yes, that causes the stuff. It's not our problem in this country, in this world. It's systemic. I've always made that argument. I've never shied away from that argument. Meaning, the things that take place in our world, for the most part, they're pushed along by certain forces. Some of those forces being us. So yes, people want their hamburgers. They want their cheeseburgers. They don't necessarily tie into how getting those hamburgers and cheeseburgers adversely affects the climate. Those people, to some degree, are complicit in what takes place around our globe, even though if you ask them and you talk to them, they will seem like perfectly nice, well-meaning people. Doesn't make them any less complicit. All those people lined up to vote for Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton would put a weapons defense shield in Syria and potentially started a war with Russia. All of those nice, well-meaning people would have been complicit in starting a war. No, I don't think we are absolved of this, if that's your point. Nebula Loper, legit, thoughtful, fucking odd progressive. Oh wow, odd progressive. I am further to the left than most. My goal in this is just to be honest. Honestly, that sounds mind-blowing. I don't have a dog in this hunt in this way. I don't like Donald Trump. So put that on the table. But I don't like Donald Trump not because he's over the top and gross. I don't like Donald Trump because he chafes at my, I put my stake in the ground. Put my stake in the ground in humanism. That's it. That's it. Whatever's best for people, that's what I want. Murdering people abroad is not best for people. It's not even best for us. It's not best for me. And if we're spending that much money abroad to do damage abroad, I don't see how that helps. That's when I take a position, I only take a position based upon this thought of what's best for the person, what's best for the individual. The other stuff I don't care about. The other stuff I don't care. What's crazy, Facebook and Twitter turned over supposed Russian ads. They came from David Brock. He spent $1 million in that election trolling Bernie supporters on social media. Yeah, that was funny. They spit funny and immensely pathetic and sad. Like, fairly sad. Think of a situation where your candidate is so disliked that you can't find people to push up and fight for. You could find an angry, riled up Bernie supporter anywhere you throw a rock. And you couldn't find enough Hillary Clinton supporters to kind of fight back on Twitter for, so they spent money to find people to fight back on Twitter. They spent $1 million on trolls. I find that's amazing. That's immensely amazing. Catherine Barber. Obama should have thought about the pain he caused by those drones. He doesn't care about that. He looks at that stuff as being a cog in the wheel. I have to do this as president? Okay, then I have to do this as president. Cog in the wheel. There's no courage yeah, there's no courage in that. It's a cog in a wheel. You're asking for somebody to have integrity. Integrity is not necessarily part of the process, or at the very least, that stuff gets weeded out a lot of times. And that sounds bad, and I don't mean it in a way that I think as bad as it sounds, and potentially maybe it's even worse. Think of it from the standpoint of think of it this way. The cop that killed that kid in Chicago. Let's take it away from Obama for the moment. The cop that killed the kid in Chicago. I look at that as a human being and I think to myself, that is a despicable act to take place. I don't like it. It angers me immensely. As a human being, I have a certain position in this world, meaning I have a certain perspective. You know, African American, male, part Native American, etc., etc., etc. Whatever the labels you want to attack. I try to pull myself away from those labels and try to diffuse the amount of impact that each of those labels has. But to some degree, I fail. Particularly in the areas of cops killing African Americans. Cops killing anybody, if I'm being honest. We need to put a restraint on what these guys do in our lives. It's fucking amazing to me that this is okay, that cops go around killing this many people. If you look at anywhere else in the world, it doesn't happen. At least not in those degrees. So you have to ask the question, why does it happen? Why does it happen? Is that cop somehow fundamentally different than any other human being? No, probably not. As a human being, that cop is acted on by forces just like every other person is acted on by certain forces in their environment. That cop was raised in a particular household, bumped into certain people in his particular community. Like any other person, he was cultured a particular way, including the environment and society that he lived in. I am forced to ask the question that what impact did that cop society have on that cop when he took that behavior, thinking it was necessary to put a bullet in somebody else's, to shoot somebody? That question becomes a little bit more uncomfortable. That question puts the society itself on trial. I don't think you could put anybody on trial without actually asking the question of, hey, what caused that person to behave that way? So, I don't think people are blank slates. I think people have some aspect of them that's them. But that aspect of them that's them is bumping up against every element that's in your particular society. That person behaves a particular way because that person was reared in a particular society that groomed to behave a particular way. If that person grew up on Vulcan, that person would act like a Vulcan. If that person grew up in a Nazi camp, that person will act like a Nazi. If the person grew up in Japan, Spain, Italy, whatever. You're shaped by environmental forces, by environmental factors. If that person grew up in this particular society and ended up in that place, well, he felt it was necessary to put a bullet in somebody. I have to ask, what in our society caused it? What in our society created that particular person? A, to want to join a force. B, to feel it was necessary to shoot somebody. And C, whatever else he harbors. Whatever else that's in there that created that particular person. I'm stuck asking this question for all these things in our society. Any particular person that we put on trial, I have to accept that that particular person, if he was raised in a different society, would have been a different person. That means part of the issue is the society itself. The society needs to be reorganized. That's my point. We have a capitalistic society that has certain drivers in that society that embellishes certain behaviors. Those are not necessarily behaviors we want in people, and yet those things are there based upon the society itself, the pushes that are in our society. Some are more explicit than others, but those pushes are there. Let's stop acting like people are acting in individual free will. It's not free will. That will is constrained based upon the society that the person is in. That's what I'm getting at. I'm looking in your face and I love you, but there is no way you believe that. No, I do believe that. I do. It's just a flat fact. Say, for example, put it this way. I deal with this on two ways. There's the emotional level of, oh my God, I hate that shit. It angers me greatly. There's this other part of me that knows that an aspect of that is an unfortunate society. I can't get away from it. If you were raised in a different place, you would be a different person. It's that simple. If you say for the moment, pull yourself back for the moment. Pretend as if the society that you're enmeshed in is not the society that you're meshed in. Say you're in a different place, maybe even a different planet, hell, maybe in a different reality. People are fundamentally different in regards to the way society is organized. Say that cop was still just that cop, but he was raised in a completely different society. No war. Say that society didn't necessarily have crime in the way that we think of crime. Say that society, for the moment, didn't necessarily have people going without. Are you telling me that that guy, growing up, would not have been a fundamentally different person? The only way to answer that is yes, of course. As a human being, human beings are somewhat malleable. If that person was in a different context, that person will behave in a different way. Hell, that person might not have never even become a cop. I'm saying that depending on where he was reared, how he was raised, all that stuff, it would change the individual. So, that's my thought. And look, I don't think I'm wrong on that. I actually do believe that. Like if, like it's like saying, if I never had any kind of medical issue, if I had never, if I had both parents at home, if XYZ, if XYZ, if XYZ, if all these things, if all these factors change, do you honestly believe that I would be the same person that I am now? I'll be a fundamentally different person. It's almost like the only way you can gear human behaviors is someone's like XY of sorts. This condition is present. How does this particular person respond to this particular? I'm saying this poorly. A position is present. How does a person respond with this position being present? It's not enough to say that this person acts a particular way. This person acts based upon the factors that are acted against them. It's not free will. Jay Scott, keep up the good work. Oh, thanks, man. John Wolf, losing the wars all the way to the bank. That sounds about right. No prices we can't put to good use from manual. And that's true. That's actually not bad politics. You should put a crisis to good use. Society has no impact on union fortresses. My thought, idealizing man. Society has no impact on union fortresses. I don't know what that means. My thoughtful, idealizing man. Idealizing man. Yvette Carl comes at 9 p.m. Okay. We're product of our environment. I think so too. He speaks the truth, same as Yvette. Oh, thank you, Shirley. I listen to you espouse lovely lines, but no union can absorb all that. No union can absorb that. I don't know what that means by union. I listen to you espouse lovely lines, but no union can absorb that. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I don't know what the no union can absorb that. Cheryl Jamonti on YouTube Live. David McCall, he's calling us murderers now. Okay, fair enough. Jamal is Yvette. Toes not total. Yvette is violent. Jamal is gentle winds. Yvette is violent. She's violent. I'm a gentle wind. Okay, fair enough. Progressives are murderers if they vote. Bernie stirs up rhetoric too. Okay. Complacent, yes. Often asleep, yes. Often not necessarily given choice in the matter, yes. Jay Scott, let it be, Jamal. I'm letting it be. I'm letting it be. Alright guys, I'm gonna call this a night. Yeah, I leave it. Hope everybody enjoyed it. I like the live shows. I gotta get better at kind of nailing down the time. Usually I just end up saying, hey, fuck it, let's do a live show. And it just kind of goes from there. Cheryl Vick, she's not violent, she just tells it like it is. I'm gonna check her out. I'm gonna check her out. You must not have thick you must have a thick skin. Uh-oh. She's not valid. She just tells it like it is. Never downvote Jamal, bro. Sweet, gentle, progressive. Now I get a lot of downvotes, man. It's like 97%. David McCall be doing his thing. He be downvoting my vids. John Wolf, thanks, Jamal. Yeah, guys. All right, guys. You guys have a good night. Let's see.